Imagine spending your life savings on a motorcycle. It's brand new. The reviews say it's perfect. The engineering is supposed to be bulletproof. You ride it for 5,000 miles, and then the engine eats itself from the inside out. Not because you rode it too hard, not because you didn't change the oil, but because a team of geniuses in a lab coat made a calculation error. From Ducati to Honda, even the giants make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are catastrophic. Today, we are dissecting the 7 mechanical disasters that nearly destroyed the reputation of the world's biggest brands. These are the perfect motorcycles that failed miserably. In the early 1980s, Honda was invincible. Their slogan was, "You meet the nicest people on a Honda." They were known for reliability. Then came the V4. Honda launched the VF750 with a revolutionary V4 engine. It was fast, smooth, and high-tech. But within months, customers started noticing something wrong. The power would drop. The engine would make a ticking noise. Mechanics opened the engines and were horrified. The camshafts, the hardened steel rods that control the valves, were being chewed up like they were made of cheese. The motorcycle world called them the chocolate camshafts. The problem wasn't just the metal. It was the way the cylinder heads were machined. They weren't lined up perfectly, causing friction that destroyed the cams. Honda denied the problem for too long. By the time they fixed it with the VFR 750 years later, the damage was done. Honda's reputation for invincibility was cracked. In 1997, Suzuki wanted to kill the Ducati 916. They built a V-twin monster called the TL1 South, but the engine was so big they ran out of room for a rear shock absorber. The engine was a masterpiece. It was a torque monster. So the engineers got creative. Instead of a normal spring and shock, they invented a rotary damper. It looked like a little door hinge filled with oil. It was a disaster. As you rode, the rotary damper sat right next to the hot exhaust. The oil inside would boil. Riders would hit a bump, and the back of the bike would act like a pogo stick. This instability led to violent tank slappers, throwing riders off the bike. When oil boils, it loses its ability to dampen bumps. Suzuki was forced to issue a worldwide recall to install steering dampers to mask the problem. But the Widowmaker reputation stuck. Harley-Davidson engines are supposed to be agricultural, simple, unbreakable, iron. The TL1000S is a legend today, but the suspension was an engineering failure. But from 1999 to 2006, the twin-cam 88 engine had a time bomb inside it. To keep the cam chains tight, Harley used spring-loaded tensioners with plastic shoes. Inevitably, the plastic wore down. And when it broke, it didn't just stop the bike. Just tiny pieces of plastic rubbing against a sharp metal chain, spinning at thousands of RPM. Total catastrophic failure. All because of a $5 plastic part. The plastic shards would fall into the oil pump, clog the arteries of the engine, and starve the motor of oil. It remains one of the most frustrating design choices in American cruiser history. Owners had to spend thousands of dollars upgrading to hydraulic tensioners just to sleep at night. Sometimes, the failure isn't in the engine, it's in the chemistry. It saved weight and allowed for complex, beautiful shapes. In the mid-2000s, Ducati and other brands like Moto Guzzi switched from metal gas tanks to plastic ones. The nylon composite material Ducati used for the tanks would absorb this water and literally grow. But they forgot to check one thing: ethanol. In the US, fuel contains ethanol. Ethanol attracts water. The tanks would swell up. They would get so big that if you took the tank off to change the air filter, you couldn't put it back on. The latches wouldn't line up. The handlebars would hit the tank when you turned. Beautiful Italian sculptures were being deformed by cheap gas station fuel. Ducati replaced thousands of tanks under warranty, but they replaced them with the same material, leading to an endless cycle of swelling tanks. The BMW R1200 GS is the king of adventure bikes. It is designed to cross deserts and climb mountains. But in 2017, BMW faced a nightmare. Owners were riding their bikes, hitting a small pothole or bump, and the front forks were separating from the bike. It wasn't strong enough to handle the stress of off-road riding, the exact thing the bike was marketed to do. The issue was the crimping on the fork tubes. It became a massive controversy. At first, BMW claimed it was due to abuse, but after high-profile failures, they were forced to issue a global stop sale and retrofit a metal collar to reinforce the forks. For a brand built on German engineering and reliability, having wheels fall off was a PR disaster. The 2005 Suzuki GSX-R 1000 is widely considered one of the greatest sport bikes ever made. It is a legend, but they underestimated the stress of hard braking and wheelies. But even legends break. In the pursuit of lightness, Suzuki made the aluminum frame incredibly sparse. It was optimized to the gram. Riders started noticing cracks appearing near the steering head. In severe cases, under heavy braking, the front of the bike would literally snap off. Suzuki had to issue a recall that involved gluing and bolting a support brace onto the frame. It was an ugly band-aid on a beautiful bike, serving as a permanent reminder that they had pushed the engineering limits just a little too far. Let's go back to 1973 for a lesson in over-engineering. Yamaha wanted to build a smooth, twin-cylinder bike to compete with the British. To kill the vibration, they invented the omniphase balancer. It was a system of weighted shafts spinning inside the engine. It worked. The bike was smooth, but the balancers spun through the oil sump, whipping the oil like a cappuccino machine. The oil turned into froth. Aerated oil cannot lubricate metal. The bearings starved, the engine seized, and the bikes died by the thousands. Yamaha added an oil cooler and a deeper sump, but the reputation was destroyed. The TX750 is now known as the bike that taught Yamaha how not to build an engine. We look at these machines as perfect feats of engineering, but at the end of the day, they are built by humans, and humans make mistakes. Whether it's a plastic tensioner or a chocolate camshaft, these failures remind us, never buy the first year of a new model. Let the other guys be the beta testers. If you enjoyed this breakdown of mechanical misery, you need to see our video on the forbidden engines. Click here to see the technology that was so good. The government made it illegal.